precisely defined liquid stream. Here, this is a here. In previous slide, I will tell you in this. Here we have to put our sample, and this is a sheath fluid that pose a pressure on the sample molecules so that they can form a single cell line flow. And when they form a single cell line, and when they pass through a laser optics, here is a laser optics or laser beam. Laser beam is a monochromatic wavelength light. When it passes through this, it shows some kind of scattering are of two types. These particles scatter the light whether in a forward direction or in a side direction at a 90-degree perpendicular direction. On the basis of that, flow cytometric instrument differentiate the cell population, and these signals, electronics or computer system will do that they convert these diffraction or reflection and these optical properties into a reading electronics signal, so that we can differentiate the cells into a different kind of subpopulation. Can you hear me all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. It would be good enough. Uh, just now you start hearing me, or what I told before you heard that?
It would be good if you can start over again.
Okay, I will start my presentation again with the first slide. Okay, and I will share my screen with you all guys. Can you able to see the flow cytometry screen over here? Is it okay now? If you have any queries, if you want to ask something about or any queries related to this, you can ask anytime, or you can post your message over here. This is the class tree platform. Here you can, if you want to teach something, you can book your class for teaching also. And if you want to learn, this is a social learning platform. You can also book classes on another subjects also, or another topic also. So can we start with this flow cytometry now?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. This is a flow cytometry. Flow cytometry is basically a technique related to cell biology. Cell biology is in flow cytometry, we can differentiate different kind of cells on the basis of their size, population, size, granularity, and many different properties. When a cell suspension is run through the cytometer, sheath fluid is used to hydrodynamically focus the cell suspension through a small nozzle. The tiny stream of fluids take the cell past the laser light, one cell at a time. I can show you the picture also. Just I am Defining your flow cytometry in a single term. Flow cytometry is a widely used method for analyzing cell surface or intracellular molecules, characterizing and defining different cell types in a heterogeneous cell population, accessing, analyzing cell on the basis of cell size, granularity. As we know, blood cells, different blood cells have a different granularities. Likewise, red blood cells, monocytes, and also they have a different sizes also. Some are small in size, some are bigger in size. So we can differentiate heterogeneous cell population according to their size, volume, and their intracellular properties. It also allows simultaneous multi-parameter analysis of a single cell. So we can analyze single cell in this flow cytometry instrument. It also uses, on apart from cell size and cell granularity, uh, or likewise cell intracellular properties, we can also use fluorescent molecules to produce fluorescent labeled antibodies that are going to detect proteins which cells are expressing on their surface, or different cells have a different protein profile intracellularly also. So we can differentiate cells on the basis of these fluorescent labeled antibodies also. So we can use fluorescent labeled molecules also to differentiate these cell on the basis of different antigenic profile, protein profile, ligands. What are antibodies? Antibodies are ligands that bind to a specific antigen molecules present on the surface of the cells. So also we can stain these cells with a different fluorescent dye so that we can differentiate these cells on the basis of fluorescence. They are excitation, on the basis of fluorescent excitation. So we can differentiate cells on the basis of different properties. Now we come to the second slide. We have what is basically flow cytometry means. Flow is related to motion, cyto is related to cell, and metry is related to measure. Basically, flow cytometry measure properties of cells while in a fluid stream. So this is a basic single line definition of flow cytometry. Now, why do we need fluorescence in a flow cytometry? Why we need fluorescence in flow cytometry? As we can also differentiate cells based on their size, but also on their basis of granularity, another physiological properties. But as we all know, many cells appears the same. So fluorescence, we need to mark them specific. As we have different kind of fluorescent markers, some of blue color, green color, red color, and so many kind of fluorescent dyes are available nowadays. So we can mark these different cells or different antibodies with different fluorescent labeled molecules so that they can attach specific to different cells. Some cells, when we for example, we start with the some antibodies we mark with a red label dye, another with a green label dye, and when we react these antibodies with these cells, so red antibodies, these antibodies and antigen have a lock and key kind of relationship. A single specific antibody binds to a single specific antigen, and when we go to elaborate it. Did you heard about monoclonal antibodies? Anybody want to say something about monoclonal antibodies? Ever heard about
Yes. Monoclonal antibodies are specific to specific antigen only.
Yeah, like as we can say, their antigens itself is a specific to antibodies, but antigen is a polyepitopic. It also have a different epitopes also, and different epitopes have a different specificity. So when a single antibody binds to a single epitope of an antigen, then it will called as a monoclonal antibody. So monoclonal antibody is more specific when we talk about antibodies. Normal antibodies are polytopic, but when we talk about monoclonal antibody, they are specific to a single epitope of an antigen. So when we can also use monoclonal antibodies in these kind of flow cytometry technique, so that we can differentiate the cell population specifically on the basis of an epitopic population. So fluorescence enable us to mark a specific cells, or we can differentiate sorry, we can differentiate cells on the basis of different particles. We can characterize different subpopulation of a cells. We can also differentiate different components within a single cells. We also able to discriminate live and dead cells. We also able to discriminate cells on the basis of cell cycle phase they are having. As we all know, different cells when having a different cell cycle phase, whether they are in a G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, they exhibit different protein profile in their cells. So on the, if we have a single cell population, and we will have an antibodies which are specific to different markers which cells express in different cell cycle phase. So we can differentiate these cell population on the basis of cell cycle phase, whether these cells are in a G1 phase, S phase, or G2 phase. So in whole, what I want to say is fluorescent molecules, here we need to differentiate different cells on the basis of different physiologic cell or particles, or any way where in which we want to characterize our subpopulation. What is the aim of our study? So now, what is the basic principle of flow cytometry? Measuring properties of cells, using different fluorescent labeled antibodies, and when these cells flow in a fluid suspension across an illuminated path, these flow cytometry kind of instrument differentiate these cell molecules. Likewise, this is a basic flow diagram which in flow cytometry instrument follows. Here, this is a flow chamber. If you can see, I am pointing here. This is a flow chamber. Here we need to put our sample, cell suspension, cell lytic fluid. Likewise, from where we have to mechanically or enzymatically lysed cell fluid we have to put over here. And then this is a sheath fluid which is already present in a flow cytometric instrument. What is the work sheath fluid will do is it hydrodynamically focus this sample. Likewise, we can say like if a single if we are moving in a population or in a group, so we are moving here and there, but from both sides, if a lot of people start pushing us like from both sides, so we start moving in a single profile. So sheath here is what sheath fluid is doing here is like he is focusing the sample or the cells to move in a single profile. When the cell or cells start moving in a single profile, and when it comes across this laser optics, every flow cytometric instrument has a laser optics or a laser beam. Do you all know about laser? What is a laser defines? What we mean by a laser? What is the difference between normal light we use and in comparison to laser? Laser is a monochromatic light. It is of a single wavelength, 540, 565. It has a single particular color. So in every flow cytometer, we use laser optics, laser beams, so that on the basis of this flow cytometry, we can differentiate the cell. When these laser beams, when these cells come across this laser beam, some of the light, they will scatter in a forward direction, likewise at 180 degree and another at a 90 degree. So that at 90 degree, that we called side scatter, and when it comes long at a 180 degree, then it is called as forward scatter. On basis of forward scatter and light scatter, flow cytometry differentiate the cell population. Here is just a brief description. What we need in a flow cytometric instrument. First, cells in a single cell suspension. To do flow cytometry effectively, the basic requirement is a single cell suspension so that we can analyze each and every single cell. Another one is fluorescent probes, which we are used to conjugate antibodies. Third one is cytometer, and this is an instrument which we want analyze light signal to determine phenotype and function of cells. So basically, it is an integration of fluidics, optics, and electronics. It is an interdisciplinary designed instrument which is used for cell biology. How the flow cell works: here is a light source. It is a flow chamber. Light source gives a monochromatic laser light. Flow chamber from flow chamber we get our sample fluids, which we sample of cells which we want to analyze. Optical system that has a detectors and dichromatic lenses which reflect and refract the lights. Another one is after refracting and deflecting, when the light come at a detectors, they detect it, and the computer system generates the readable or data which we can understand. Now, what we discuss the three systems like fluidic, optics, and electronics one by one. Hydrodynamic focusing. What do we mean by hydrodynamic focusing? Hydrodynamic focusing is when we put a sample into a flow cytometer. From here we need to put our sample. It is the cells are moving here and there, but the sheath fluid which is present already in a cytometer focus these haphazardly moving, randomly distributed cells which are moving in a 3D space into an ordered stream of single particles so that we can interrogate or analyze each cells individually. This process is managed by the fluidic system. The fluidic system consists of a central core through which the sample fluid is injected, as I already told, which is enclosed by an outer sheath fluid. When two streams of fluid with different flow rates are running side by side in the same direction, then a laminar flow is created. On the basis of this laminar fluid, or with narrowing of the sheath or in a nozzle or cuvette, the fluid velocity is increased. This process is managed by the fluidic system. So later, after that, the sample is introduced into the center and the Bernoulli effect occurs, and the sheath fluid pressure allows the sample fluid to come into a single profile. Thereby, this allows the creation of a stream of particles in a single file and is called hydrodynamic focusing. What it called? Hydrodynamic focusing. The sheath fluid pressure is constant while the sample fluid is adjusted. We can adjust the pressure of sample fluid which we are adding in a flow cytometer according to our need, but sheath fluid pressure we have to remain kept it constant. Therefore, by manipulating the pressure difference, you can get the desired cross-sectional area. On the basis of the pressure you are adjusting of your sample fluid, we can get the desired cross-sectional area on the basis of cell size we are having, so that we can interrogate the cells individually. This allows the creation of a particles in a single file. This is called hydrodynamic focusing. After hydrodynamic focusing, each particle passes through one by one from a focused light. As I already told you briefly, that here we are using laser as an optic system. What we are using? Laser as an optic system. Laser is a light source, major light source in a flow cytometry. Laser produces single wavelength of light at a specific frequency. light scattering. There are two kinds of light scattering, forward scatter and side scatter. When a particle come across the laser light, it scatter this laser light into either a forward direction, which is occur at 180 degree, and another one is at a side scatter, which occur at a 90 degree. We will discuss forward scatter. Light that is scattered in the forward direction after interacting with the particle, typically up to 20 degree offset from the laser beam axis, is known as forward scatter channel. Here you can see, likewise, this is a cell which we are going to interrogate. This is a laser light. This is a laser light. This is a cell which we are going to interrogate. And here this light is coming, and here a cell is, from here cell is coming from in a single profile. When the light moves straight, like in a 20 degree offset or 0 to 20 degree offset, then it is called a forward scatter. Most of the cells differentiate on the basis of size in the forward scattering, and when we need to differentiate the cells on the basis of granularity, we use side scatter. Those cells which having a more granularity will scatter the light at a 90 degree and show side scatter. And when the size have low granularity and only the size is the basis of differentiation, then they will scatter the light in a forward scatter manner. So light that is scattered in a forward direction after interacting, typically up to the 0 20 degree from the laser beam axis, is known as forward scatter. And this forward scatter measurement can give an estimation of a particle size. Forward scattering measurement gives us an estimation of particle size. Larger particle refracting more light than smaller particle. But this can depend on several factors such as, but it also depends on manufacturer like wavelength of the laser, the collection angle, refractive index of the sample, and similarly on the refractive index of the sheath fluid. Okay, now this we have understood. The index of refraction is higher in fixed and stain cell. Live cells scatter more light. So on the basis of this scattering, we also differentiate between differentiate between dead cells and live cells, as live cells scatter more light compared to dead cells. So dead cells scatter at lower angle. So on the basis of this scattering, we can differentiate whether the cells present in our population is like how many cells are live cells or how many are dead cells. Similarly, on the basis of refractive index, different cells might have a different refractive index. So we can also differentiate on the basis of refractive index of a cytoplasm or a granularity. If the cells have higher granularity, they have a higher refractive index. So the index of refraction, if the index of refraction is higher in fixed and stain cell, they will scatter more. So we need to study side scattering. So what is side scattering? The light which is deflected at 90 degree to the excitation line is called as scatter line. As I am pointing, the light which goes straight to the detector is a forward scatter light. We can take it up to a 20 degree. This is a low angle scatter, or this is a high angle scatter. These are called as forward scattering light. On the basis of this, we can differentiate whether the cells are small in size or a large in size. But if the cell diffract at 90 degree to the cell, then it is called as side scattering. Side scattering provide information about the complexity of the internal structure of cells. Likewise, if the cells have more granularity, they will scatter more. And if have a less granularity, they will scatter less at a low scattering angle. So both on the basis of both forward scattering and side scattering, we can differentiate, or we can differentiate cells present in a heterogeneous population. For example, in a blood, we all know is a heterogeneous population of cells. They have WBC, RBC. WBCs are also of many types, monocyte, lymphocyte. They have different granularity and different sizes also. So we can differentiate heterogeneous population of a blood in a flow cytometry basis of size and granularity. This is a flow cytometric plot which is analyzed for different cells present in a blood cells. This is an side scattering. As you can see, if you can see, this is the side scat on y-axis side scattering, and on x-axis there is a forward scattering. You can analyze it. If a forward, it has a granulocyte. You can see here circle, red mark, granulocytes. They have high granularity. So they have high side scattering. So they have, on the graph, they have created their population over here. On the basis of this, we can say that these are the granulocytes. Monocyte, they have a granularity, but not as much granular cytoplasm as compared to granulocyte. So they have made their different population on this graph, which we define as monocytes. And the third population is a lymphocytes. They have no granularity in their cytoplasm, less granularity, but have a medium size. So they make the population of a different population of cells over here have a high forward scattering index. So we can define them as a lymphocyte. Here what we see is a debris, which concludes dead cells, RBCs, and many different population of cells. So on the basis of granularity and size, granulocyte, monocyte, and lymphocytes present in a blood of a normal humans is differentiated in a flow cytometer. Measurement of fluorescence. As I already told you, fluorescent tagged antibodies, why we need in flow cytometry to differentiate the cell population. Cell can also be separated using fluorescent tag. Here I have defined you a population, blood population, differentiating on the basis of just on the basis of cell size and granularity. Now I am going to define how fluorescent tagged antibodies are used for flow cytometry to differentiate cell population. Fluorescent molecule, there are so many fluorescent molecules available nowadays to tag different cell molecules or antibody at a single time. We can use different antibodies at a single time to conjugate it with different fluorescent molecules so that we can differentiate a population of cell at a real time into a different subpopulation. Fluorescent dyes, low molecular weight fluorescent dyes are available, and high molecular weight fluorescent dyes are also available. Some of the commonly used fluorescent dyes are FITC, which is commonly known as fluorescein isothiocyanate, which we are commonly used in our laboratory experiments for FIT as we are going to do those monoclonal antibodies experiment. Another is Alexa-4 dye or cyanine dyes are used. Phycoerythrin can be used, or allophycocyanine dyes are also used to fluorescent as a fluorescent molecule. Beside these fluorescent dyes, nowadays nanomaterials are also used to tag these antibodies. Did you have ever heard about nanomaterials? Any of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what kind of nanomaterial we can use to tag these antibodies as a fluorescent molecules? Have any idea?
I won't use nanomaterials for tagging these cells or something, but I heard about the nanomaterials.
Okay, I will define a little bit about nanomaterials. As I can't cover the whole nanomaterial fluorescent nanomaterial in this lecture, as it will take more time. But quantum dots, did you have heard about quantum dots? Nanomaterials, quantum dots are nanomaterials which we can synthesize in our labs also. I'm synthesizing it. They are what are the difference between fluorescence dyes which we are using in nanomaterial is like fluorescence has a limited life decay. Fluorescence material, fluorescent dyes which are currently using in molecular biology has a limitation, many limitation like limited life or limited intensity. In comparison, nanomaterial which we are synthesizing from metals, CDSE, cadmium, selenium. What we have to do is we have to synthesize these. We have to take a single salt of cadmium and another salt of selenium, and we have to combine these salts in a particular condition at high temperature and high pressure. It will form a molecules or dots, quantum dots, a small. I can show you if I can. We can take cadmium, selenium, CDSE quantum dots. They are of a size less than 10 nanometer. If you synthesize nanometer, can you able to see this picture?
No, ma'am.
No.
So we are just seeing that
We
same
see
slight
only
measurement
measurement of
fluorescence.
fluorescence.
Right.
Okay. Just wait a minute. I will show you the picture. Can you now able to see?
No.
No,
Now?
ma'am.
No. Hey, wait a minute.
No.
I will show you. Okay, I will share my screen again. Oh, share, no share. Now you able to see this picture?
Still not.
No, ma'am.
Still not, huh?
Yeah.
Can you try pasting in chat?
Okay.
What?
Now you able to see? Otherwise, I will paste it in a chat.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a CDSE quantum dots, which currently I am using for my PhD work. Cadmium and selenium salts are combined, and when they at a particular higher temperature and pressure, nearly 230 degree Celsius temperature and pressure near about 300 or something, and I can't tell about all the details as this is my PhD work. So I can just tell you about the extreme conditions. At these extreme temperature and pressure, these quantum dots are reduced in a size less than 10 nanometer. When they come in such a less size or less than 10 nanometer, they start to fluorescence, and fluorescence, they have a long life of fluorescence, and they also this is a heavy metals quantum dots. But you can also nowadays molecular biology and genetics, we can also use non-metallic quantum dots also. Non-metallic quantum dots are based on the basis of iron or zinc. We can also use zinc salts, iron salts, which are non-toxic to human bodies, as these heavy metals have a toxic profiles. So there is so many issues related to it, likewise toxicity profiling and all these things. So we can't use it in a in vivo experiments. So to combat these toxicities, nowadays people are using non-toxic metals which are essential for human bodies, such as iron, zinc, and many other. You can also suggest which are necessary for those micro elements which are necessity of a human body. These elements like zirconium. Zirconium. Did you heard about zirconium? Zirconium also can be used for synthesis of quantum dots. And other than quantum dots, metal organic frameworks nowadays are also used as a fluorescent tag molecules. Metal organic frameworks, anybody heard about? I am telling about the possibilities fluorescent molecules can be used for this flow cytometry. So we can use many kind of fluorescent molecules as we have already know about our fluorescent dyes which are present, which are commonly used for our experiments. But we can also use other quantum dot materials or nanomaterials used for this as a fluorescent tags. Quantum dots, there are many kind of quantum dots, and another option you can have as a fluorescent molecule is metal organic frameworks. I will try to have my another lecture on quantum dot and metal organic frameworks so that you can understand more about these nanomaterials. But now for a time being, this much is enough. Metal organic framework and quantum dot can also be used other than these fluorescent dyes. We will back to our flow cytometry lecture. Fluorescent channels. As I have already told you about forward scatter and side scattering. Fluorescent molecules we are using, and fluorochrome used for detection of target protein emit light when excited by a laser. When these fluorescent molecules are conjugated with these antibodies, they get bind to the specific antigen present on the cell molecules which we are interrogating. So when we put laser light from our optics on these fluorescent tag antibody conjugated cells, so then what happens? Then these fluorescent molecules excite using this laser optics with the corresponding excitation wavelength. Each molecule has a particular excitation limit and a particular emission range. Do we know about excitation and emission? Excitation is at which the material or fluorescent fluorochromes absorb the energy. Absorption of a particular wavelength is an excitation. After absorbing that light at a particular wavelength, fluorochrome start emitting light at a higher wavelength. As every material has an electron in its shell, this is the basics which we all know about. Electronic shells and electron present in the cells outside the nucleus. When an atom absorbs the energy, the electrons start jumping up to the outer shells. But when any electrons can't be stable in their higher excited state, so they jump back to their ground state. When they jump back to their ground state, they start emitting the light, and in fluorochromes they start emitting, or emission occurs at a higher wavelength. That's why fluorescence occurs. So fluorescence, when these fluorochrome tagged antibodies bind to the cells, the cells start emitting fluorescence. Fluorescence from stained cells are then split into defined wavelengths. The different cells will emit different fluorescence as we tag these different cells with the different fluorochromes. So we have in flow cytometry, we have different channels to differentiate or split these wavelengths according to the cells, and we have different filters, set filters and mirrors within the flow cytometer so that they can differentiate the cells. So the fluorescent light is filtered so that each sensor will detect fluorescence only at a specific wavelength. FITC channel, likewise we can see here what are fluorescence channel. This is a laser, this is a cell. There are two antibodies. These are antigen. these are antigen. These are specific antibodies which are binding to a specific epitope. These red and yellow, you can see, are fluorochrome molecules. When these fluorochrome molecules come across this laser light, they start exciting the light. Uh, this has a particular wavelength, and this red fluorochrome molecule has a particular wavelength. So what will happen that when this antibodies start emitting light, it pass straight through these filter which are present at initial, but this is particularly designed to reflect this kind of wavelength. This is a specific at FITC PMT. So when this dichroic filter reflect this light, it will go to the detector present here, which detect light specific to the FITC. As I have written also, FITC will detect light emitted from FITC at a wavelength of approximately 519 nanometer only. We can assume like this red one is an FITC molecule. This FITC molecule will emit light only at 519 nanometer. When this antibody molecule will reflect light at 519 nanometer, then these cells will not able to reflect this. Only the last filter present in this figure only able to reflect this. So when it reflected, it goes to direct to a detector, then to a computer, and then these cells are separated on the basis of FITC tag molecules. So on the basis of these filters and detectors, we can separate the cells according to the desired characteristics we need. So flow cytometry, I can explain you a single, I can give a single example of a cell. We know about T cells. T cells, these are kind of lymphocytes. There are three kinds of, basically 2 and 3 kinds of T cells are present in our body: helper T cells and cytotoxic T cells. As we all know, the CD4 FITC cells express different markers. Helper T cells express CD4 marker, and cytotoxic T cells express CD8. So what we have done, we have taken 2 antibodies. One we labeled with FITC. These antibodies are specific to CD4 markers, which are expressed by helper T cells. Another is another antibody which is specific to CD8 cells, which we which we conjugate to another fluorochrome or fluorophore, which is PE. As the name suggested, PE, I also defined previously. PE is phycoerythrin. So we have labeled these 2 antibodies with 2 different fluorochrome. One is FITC, isothiocyanate, fluorescein isothiocyanate, and another one is PE, that is phycoerythrin. Now on the basis of these 2 fluorochrome molecules, we be able to differentiate the T cells. This is the flow cytometry flow chart of T cell sorting. Cells here in a first column, I can show you here marker 1. What kind of population this is? Cells not expressing either CD8 or CD4. The cells which are not expressing any kind of antibodies or any kind of markers, the cells which are not expressing either CD4 or either CD8 will not bind to any antibody. So they will make a different population of cells which are present in gray color in this figure. Another one is second one that shows in a orange color. So cells expressing only CD8. The cells which express only CD8 marker present on their cell surface will bind to CD8 specific antibody, and we have tagged CD8 specific antibody to phycoerythrin. So phycoerythrin will fluorescence and show orange color population, and they will constitute a different population here. Another one is third one, which comes here in green color. This column, I am if you can see my mouse pointer, this one. This is a third population, which are cells which express only CD4 marker on their cell surface, will bind to antibodies which are conjugated to FITC conjugated antibodies. So they will constitute a different population, and this is a population of helper T cells. There are another cells, some kind of cells express both CD8 and CD4 marker on their cell surface. These kind of T cells will bind to both antibodies, the antibody which are conjugated to phycoerythrin and the antibodies which are conjugated to FITC. So these cells constitute a different population in pink color. So on the basis of two antibodies conjugated specific to two different markers of a T cell, CD8 and C4, will form four cell population and sorted on the basis of CD8 and CD4. So here I have initially I explained you how we will differentiate cells on the basis of cell size and granularity, cytoplasmic granularity. As on blood, we have taken blood as a example, and on the basis of granularity and cell size we differentiate. And another example I am here demonstrating is of T cells. In this we are using fluorescent antibodies which are tagged to different fluorophore molecules, and these fluorochrome conjugated antibodies are bind to different cells and form a four different kind of populations. These sample have been taken from mouse. So after this, I am going to explain you about detectors and filters present in flow cytometry. In flow cytometer, filters are present too, so that a single wavelength can be detected by a single detector. Most flow cytometer use different instrument, use different detectors, different filters. They are designed on the basis of specific needs which an analyzer wants to add into it. So they are designed specifically. So most flow cytometer use separate channel and detectors to detect emitted lights, depend on the need of the analyzer. So detectors present in flow cytometer are of two types: photomultiplier tube and Levenshay photodiodes. PMT is the most common kind of detector which are used in flow cytometry. The specificity of detection is controlled by optical filter. What is the work optical filters will do is they block certain wavelength and transmit only the other. Likewise, I have told you there are four different filters. There are four different filters are present. It is designed for a specific wavelength. It will only reflect a single wavelength. Here another filter, it will only reflect this blue. In blue, when a light comes in this blue range, it reflects it. If it comes in another red, orange and higher wavelength, it won't able to reflect it. So the optical filters are designed such that they block certain wavelengths while transmitting others. There are mainly two kind of filters are present: absorption filters and interference filter. Absorption filter made of color glasses, but we won't use in our flow cytometry. I will come to an interference filter, or the filters which attenuate or reflect the unwanted light. So there are majorly four kind of interference filters which we can use in our flow cytometry. These are long pass, short pass, band pass and dichroic filters. I will elaborate these filters. Long pass filter, as you can see, long pass filters allow light through above a cutoff wavelength. This is a long pass filter. Long pass filter will only pass, it will allow the light to pass which are greater than 520 nanometer, and the light which are of shorter wavelength less than 520 will not able to pass through these filters. So these are the broad range filters. Long pass will allow to pass light only which are greater than 520 nanometer. Another is a short pass filter which able to which only permit light to pass which are shorter than 575 nanometer. So this is a common category. Long pass allow to pass greater than 520 and short pass allows to or permit only the wavelengths which are less than 575 nanometer. Another is a band pass filter which allow only in a range of wavelength. For example, 620 to 640 band pass filter will allow only the light which comes in the range of 620 to 640. Other greater or smaller will not be able to pass through this filter. All other lights which are of larger long wavelength or short wavelength will reflect from these filters. Another kind of filter which most commonly used are dichroic filters. Can block light by phase reflection, allowing certain light to pass through and interfering with the other wavelength. Dichroic filter blocks the light through reflection. It reflect other wavelength. Likewise, greater than 540 nanometer light are reflected by these dichroic filter and less than 540 nanometer wavelength lights will pass through this filter. That's why these filters are called as dichroic filters. It will not absorb any kind of wavelength. It just greater than 540 nanometer light is reflected and the less than 540 nanometer light is passed through these dichroic filters. So this is what happens in flow cytometry. Here is a channel, flow sample channel, from where we have to put our cell lysis fluid or sample we are putting here. After hydrodynamic focusing, it comes in a single profiling. This is a laser source, laser argon we can use, and argon lamp we can use for the laser light. Here comes the laser light. This is an optical system. So when a system come across the laser light, it start reflecting the light, and this is a band pass filter. It allowed to pass it in a range of light. So this detector, this is a forward scatter. Here occurring a scattering. When a single cell come across a laser light, it start reflecting the light. So the lights which are coming 0 to 20 degrees scattering come straight to this forward scatter detector. This is the range. So here we put a band pass filter so that it can allow to transmit the light in a range of wavelength. Another one is another scattering which occur here is a side scattering. So here is a dichroic. These four are the dichroic filters. This is also a band pass filter. This band pass filter also allowed to pass a light into a range of wavelength. But afterwards a dichroic filter. Dichroic filter, what it does, this band pass filter allows the light to transmit in the blue to red range. So when these blue to red range start to transmit it or start to band pass filter allows the light to pass through in a range of wavelength from blue to red. As we all know, it is about 400 nanometer to near about 700 to 750 nanometer. So afterwards, this first dichroic filter allows reflect blue light and allows to pass here green, yellow, and red one. So this is a side scatter detector. Here all these are detectors. So this blue light which is reflected from this dichroic filter is detected by this side scatter detector. After this green, here this dichroic filter is designed such that it can reflect the green light. So here is also a detector. Another dichroic filter allowed to reflect yellow light, and here is in last one is a dichroic filter which is able to reflect the red light. Here all are the fluorescent channels and detectors which able to detect the reflected light. Now these fluorescent channels and detectors will combine the data and send to the computer system so that we can analyze the different kind of subpopulation present in the heterogeneous population we want to analyze. So this allows the light path to be passed through a series of filters. The precise choice and the filters which we want to arrange in this flow cytometer will be depend upon the analyzer, so that multiple signals can be detected simultaneously. So detector, as I have told you, will detect the light which are reflected by the dichroic filters or short pass, long pass filters. So the sensor convert the photon. What did the detectors do? The detectors here is present to convert the photon which are reflected by the dichroic filters into an electrical impulse. Electrical impulse that are proportional to number of photon received, which in turn is proportional to the number of fluorochrome molecules bound to the cell. Here what we need to learn is, likewise, if there are 4 cells which are present with CD4 molecules and there are 8 cells which are present with CD8 molecules, so 4 photons means number of photons are equally, like number of fluorochrome molecules is proportional to number of photons they will emit. So the number of photons is directly proportional to number of electrical impulse or electrons they will generate. So on the basis of this, we can discriminate that we have more number of cells with CD8 markers and less number of cells with CD4 markers, and how many cells with CD4 and CD8 and how many cells with without CD4 and CD8. So the sensor here or detector here converts the number of fluorochrome molecules into a number of photons which are proportional to directly proportional to electrical impulse. So detector convert, the basic principle is detector here converts photon to an electrical impulse signal. So these impulse signals are converted to digital information which we can read out or which we can analyze to digital information by the converter or electronic system. So digitalized data is stored in the form of histogram which we receive on a computer screen, so that the flow cytometry is a complete instrument which done all the analysis and all the analysis, detection, and all the digitalization. We just receive histogram so that we can read it and analyze how many of cells are there with different kind of fluorochromes or different population or subpopulation. So practical aspects of cytometry, in which kind of application we can use this flow cytometry, or first I will tell you about the practical aspects of cytometry. First we need to prepare a single cell suspension, whether we can use solid tissue which we can digest it mechanically, and enzymatic digestion with trypsin and any kind of enzymes which we are normally using to disrupt the tissue to obtain a cell lysis culture. So cell suspensions are then counted and viability is determined. So then we read out the cells or count the cells present in our cell lysis through a hemocytometer. This is a basic experiment we can do before going for a flow cytometric experiment, so that we know the viability of our cell culture, whether all are dead cells or live cells. So viability is determined. We can also use dye exclusion assays such as Trippen Blue. So sample is finally then we have our sample ready to analyze with flow cytometry. So sample is finally incubated with required antibodies which are already attached with the fluorochrome molecules in optimal temperature and pH. Now we have our sample ready, in which we have cells which are incubated with the specific antibodies which are already attached with the fluorochrome molecules. Now we put this sample into a flow cytometer, and the flow cytometer do the desired all the necessary steps, and then we receive an histogram with different subpopulation present in our cell sample. So application which is in which we can use the flow cytometry is immunophenotyping analysis. Immunophenotyping analysis is on the basis of antibodies. We can differentiate the cell population. Another is immunodeficiency. Immunodeficiency, like with sickle cell anemia, and so many kind of immunodeficiencies are there. We can analyze using these antibodies or specific marker present on these immunodeficient cells. So we can use for diagnosis of these immunodeficiency. Allograft rejection to diagnose cause of, likewise if we have to do some kind of allograft in someone's body, so and it reject that allograft, we can diagnose what is the major reason why the person is rejecting that allograft or grafting. Transplant, why the person is rejecting that transplant, because of this, as we all know, MHC, histocompatibility complex, you all know about. So they are also related to specific markers which are present on the transplant organs. So we can diagnose, we can design the specific antibodies and tag with the fluorochrome molecules. And we have made a sample from that tissue so that we can analyze what kind of marker is present on that, or what is the reason behind the rejection for that transplant. Another kind of is we can autoimmune disease, we all know about. So we can diagnose autoimmune disease on the basis of flow cytometry. We can also measure nucleic acid content present in a particular cells, and the status of DNA ploidy. As we all know, cancer is a major disease nowadays world is facing. So DNA, and the major factor for the cancer to occur is a DNA ploidy. Likewise, tetraploidy and another kind of chromosome aberration is present in cancer cells. So we can determine the cause, what kind of DNA ploidy is present in these cancer cells. So we can analyze the cancer cells on the basis of flow cytometry. So flow cytometry is also able to measure, we are already discussed, we differentiate on the basis of cell size. We can differentiate on the basis of protein profiling present in the cells, cell receptors, different cells having a different cell receptors, membrane potential. On the basis of membrane potential, which likewise ATP proteins are present on the cell membrane, have a different membrane potentials. So on the basis of that also we can measure what cells have a different membrane potential. On the basis of calcium ion concentration also we can differentiate our cell population. On the basis of granularity also we can differentiate our cell population. Another kind of application related to DNA is the measurement of cellular DNA. We can know about flow cytometry as fluorescent dyes such as propidium iodide that intercalate into the DNA helical structure. Likewise, ETBR we are commonly using in our experiment day-to-day life. In our molecular biology experiment, it also intercalate between DNA helical structure, but we need UV light for its visualization. So another fluorescent dye, which is propidium iodide, we can use to, which also intercalate into a DNA helical structure, and the basis of how much fluorescence it will provide will tell about us how much cellular DNA is present in that cell. So fluorescent signal is directly proportional to the amount of DNA present in the nucleus. Similarly, erythrocyte analysis or quantification of fetal red cells present in maternal blood also can be detected based on this erythrocyte analysis. Another kind of application which is related to flow cytometry is diagnosis of proximal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. Here antibodies, there are two kind of CD markers present on the cell, CD55 and CD59, which are related with the decay accelerating factor. So antibodies which are specific to CD55 and CD59, and these antibodies when we conjugate with fluorophore molecules will able to diagnose as paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. So can be analyzed by flow cytometry. So different kind of DNA related or CD markers related and different size related disease can be diagnosed using flow cytometry. different population of blood cells, B cells, T cells, as most of the diseases which we came across are related with the CD markers. Like T cells have a CD2, CD4. Different. If we have any kind of diseases, the first thing that alters is the CD markers expression present on the cells. So as the markers alternate between different cells, we can diagnose it using flow cytometry. So we can differentiate different leukemia and lymphomas. Like cancers have subtle difference in their antigen profiles, make them ideal for analysis by flow cytometry. B cells, CD5, CD10, CD19, 20, 45. There are so many CD markers which are related to different diseases. So on the basis of these CD markers, we can differentiate the cells using flow cytometry. I have done my job. I have done with the flow cytometry. If you have any queries related to flow cytometry, you can ask whether in a chat or and you can also directly ask me. Also, there is a link I am pasting in a chat box. That is a feedback form. Please fill it for me. Please spare 2 minutes or 3 minutes with this so that I can know or improve for further lectures. I'm just pasting it. You just fill the form.
Thank you, Shika.
Okay.
Hi, Shika, it was a very good session we had with you.
I'm not able to hear you.
Thank you, Shika. We had a very good session had with you.
I have
Quite
given you all
knowledgeable.
the link. Please fill it so that I can better improve for further lectures. Just do it. Click on the link and fill up this feedback form and you can submit it.
We didn't find the link in Zoom group chat.
I already pasted in a Zoom group chat. Is it visible?
Yeah. I can see it now.
Hi, ma'am. Will we get any certification for this participation?
For flow cytometry?
Or it's for just a lecture, means an informative lecture?
Can you repeat your question? I'm not able to hear you.
Okay. Will you get any certificate for participation or not?
No, this is अरे भाई की है अच्छा एक मिनट रुक एक मिनट No, we have. Excuse me, somebody is asking something. Sorry for the delay. No, we are not providing any kind of certification now for a time being, as this is a social platform just to help COVID-19 or pay some contribution to COVID-19. Later we can start. This is just so that everyone can relate to this.
Hello, is the session done? Can we leave the group now?
Session is done. If you have filled that feedback form, it will be kind of you. Then you can leave.
Yeah, I have filled it and sent.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for attending and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Shika. Thanks for the lecture. It was very informative, and the PowerPoint is also very neat and clear.
Okay. And it will be better if you suggest me some kind of improvement so that I can better improve it in my further lectures. Is any
Yeah,
problem or some
actually,
kind
I
of
have.
content you are missing and anything so that I because a critical feedback is necessary to improve for further lectures.
Yeah, I have sent the feedback form, whatever I felt. But
Okay.
with regards to the content and all, it's just awesome. It's very nice.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Shika.
Hello.
I also submitted the feedback form. You have done really a very good job in this lockdown period. We have got lots of knowledge through your lecture. Uh, I got here lots of basic things behind this flow cytometry which we never had anything while working with flow cytometry. So really, you have done a great job. Thank you for this fine lecture.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I'm leaving.
Okay,
Okay.
thank.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.